Hello and welcome to Beyond the Lights, Football Across Texas, where we're talking football in towns with head coaches across the state. I'm your host, Brandon Brown, retired football coach and AD. I'm glad you could join us today at this week's stop from the Lone Star State as we meet one more coach and one more town to make up the world of Texas high school football.
Favorite run play? I like ISO.
Power. You got to run the power.
So I was hung up at the crow's nest.
My grandfather was the first African-American running back to be All-State.
I was 19 right about the time and went to a church revival and got saved. And that path changed my life.
Mudita, which is finding joy or happiness in others' success.
Now, I got a funny story on this.
Coach, this guy's eyes popped out of socket.
All those guys grew up on beans and cornbread. You know, I grew up on McDonald's and bologna sandwiches, a little better deal.
Yeah,
right.
I like to play the flute, Dad.
It ain't all right either. You're editing, but go ahead.
It's how well you can get your Jimmies and Joes to do the X's and O's.
So if I tell you too much more, I have to kill you?
All right, before we get started today, just a couple quick comments again. Don't forget to check out Spiral XO if you haven't already. I'm telling you, that program can save you a lot of time, possibly even a lot of money, because it consolidates so many different things that we do during football season in one place. But anyway, it's a great program. It'll be catching on pretty quick here in Texas. So check out spiralxo.com if you get a chance. Tell them I sent you and save 10% too. So OVR 99, Randy Jackson. A lot of y'all saw us at the booth over there at coaching school. Check out OVR 99 if you're trying to find a way to keep your athletes competitive year-round, not just in the sports, but in academics and everything else. And the One for Him shirts, if you like Christian sports T-shirts and want to kind of wear what you believe, then give us a look over there. It's on the footballacrosstexas.com website, and just look at the One for Him store under the menu. You can click on there. It's not a fancy storefront on there. I just have what all the shirts look like, and we've also got the football poster with an athlete's prayer on it. So anyway, check it out if you get a chance, and now we'll get to the show. Hello and welcome to episode 79. I'm out in Marble Falls today, home of the Mustangs, and this is our first episode in our new series on becoming a head coach. And I want to thank Coach Christian for suggesting this series. He gave me that idea last week, and I said, hey, that'd be a good one. So thanks you to Coach Christian, and hopefully we can get some good advice for young coaches that are moving up and trying to land their first head job. And today I'm out here with head football coach and athletic director Keri Timmerman. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great, Brandon. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. I had never been into your facilities out here to see how nice really everything is back in here. And you got more construction going. What's the construction out there?
Yeah, we've got beautiful facilities. We've got past a $172 million bond for things like CTE, a new band hall, theater, buses, solar panels, all kinds of stuff. And then athletically, we're getting a new indoor facility that'll have a tournament-sized gym. So it's a competition gym, but it won't be our competition gym, attached to our 70-yard indoor with a 6,800 square foot weight room as well. So we've got a great facility that's going to be built on our old baseball field where Scarce Field was. And then behind me, on the far end behind our new scoreboard is going to be our baseball field. It'll be Scarce Field moved. And so we've turfed baseball and softball and just had, just a bunch of improvements. So we're really excited. Lots of building going on, which means lots of patience from a lot of people and lots of transitioning. But we're really excited. Our community's really showed up for it.
So when do they think they'll have your indoor facility finished?
So the plan right now is September, October of 27. So just in about a year.
Golly, that's pretty fast.
So they're leveling dirt and they're going to start throwing beams up pretty quick. So we feel like that's going pretty timely, and then baseball should be ready in December.
Okay, cool. Well, how was coaching school last week?
It was great. I really it's one of my favorite times of years. It's bittersweet because you're getting there, but it's also it's a great moniker for our coaches to kind of go, okay, here we go. Like, it's the last little bit. We take our wives. I invite the coaches to take their wives, and I invite all of our athletic staff, and I want them to go if they can. One, the networking piece, kind of talk about that later too with head coaching, but I think the networking, but also I think it reminds us how powerful the THSCA is and what we do is, that it's so important. I mean, you got 28,000 coaches showing up to Houston or being a part of membership because of what it does for what we do for kids. And so it's always fun to do that. It's fun to see people you only get to see, once or twice a year, either in clinic season or at THSCA. So I have a lot of friends like Scott Rich, the head coach at Nederland's one of my best friends. And, I only get to see him about once or twice a year, and we text and call each other and pray for each other. But I got to hug his neck, and then we never got to see each other again. But at least I got to see him. My wife gets to be a part of the THSWCA, and so we just love that time. It's a fun time for us with new staff too, to be able to be around them and kind of just have some relaxed time before we get back on campus, because once we get back on campus, it's all go.
So how many new staff do you have? How many new guys?
That's a great question if I had to add them up. We added at the high school staff at least 3 on the football staff. At the junior high staff, we had 4 that we added, and then on the overall staff, out of 38, I think we added 8 total.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, 18 total. So we had.
Golly.
Well, that number's wrong too. I'm off on my math here.
Either way, it's a lot.
Yeah, we haven't added a ton everywhere, but we've just had some spots at the junior high that came open for people either moving up or moving out. Coach Simmons, my OC, left. We had a coach retire. We had a couple of retirements, and I think that's one of the things too. We had some coaches that had been here for a little bit and had been rehires, and they stepped out. But a little bit of turnover this year for sure. Yeah, we had some that we had to pull out. Most of it was just because coaches finding opportunities to go be head coaches or coordinators or retiring. So had a few people.
Mark Gutierrez, one of your new hires, huh? One of my old athletes.
Yeah, that's crazy how it all turns out. Mark was one that I talked to in probably January, February. Him and his wife came out, and she was looking for a nursing job, and we had a position, and he was, we didn't have a fit at the high school, but we were trying to hope we could find something. Just a really good young coach, really excited to be here. Works hard, great with kids, a lot of passion, and he's got a championship experience. He's been coached at UMHB by some of the best in the world at Pete Fredenberg and his staff, and then being able to be with you guys and being highly level coached at Clifton, but then also coaching at China Springs.
I just had him in junior high. I can't.
Hey, it all carries over, right?
He was a good kid though.
But he is, and he's got a great story, and that's the thing that really kind of latched me and my wife onto him when we met him and his wife was, him and Corinne were talking about their backgrounds. Her dad had coached, his background in Clifton with his grandparents, and so without telling his story, it just was one of those things that's a great story for kids to hear, to understand. Hey, I get where you're at. I've had some struggles in my life, but look what God did, and so he's going to be really good for our staff, especially really good for our junior high kids. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hope I can see him before I take off today.
Oh, absolutely. So. We'll find him and get him here.
Have to call him back up and put him back to work.
I can do that.
All right. Well, Coach, we always start the same way with you telling us a little about yourself, where you grew up, what brought you to this point today.
It's a real long story, but I'm going to keep it short, as my wife would say. Was born in Clifton, Texas, raised by a dad who owned a cattle hauling business in Walnut Springs, Texas. Neither of my parents went to college, so I was a first-generation college student. Went to Hardin-Simmons University, spent 4 years there. Actually 3 years there, and then transferred to Baylor University with my job, and then graduated with my undergraduate from Baylor. Met my wife there and married her. We then went back a year after coaching for Plano High School, Plano Senior High feeder school. We were at Rice Middle School, so I did 1 year of junior high, which Coach Bechtel at Midway, Waco Midway. Yeah. Coach Bechtel told me no matter what you do, whether you work for me or somewhere else, you need to go do a year of junior high. Because he asked me, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a head coach. And he said, if that's going to happen, you need to understand what it's like to coach a junior high kid and tell them how to do everything. And he was absolutely right. And so did a year of junior high, got hired by Steve Keenum to be the running backs coach at McMurray University. Did that for a season, and then got asked to go over where I was getting my master's at Hardin-Simmons University. Coach Jimmy Keeling called me and said he has a spot. So went over there as a GA for 2 years and got to coach some great football and learn a lot. And he's you asked later who's probably one of your influences, like Coach Keenum for sure, Coach Keeling for sure. Like just two men that love the Lord and love coaching and use that ministry well. And we're intense at both, right? We're intense at coaching great football and building great men, but intense in their faith, right? Want to make sure people understand that. Made my way through, coordinator as an assistant, as a special teams coordinator. I was at the Colony. I was at South Garland as an assistant coach, Rockwall Heath as an assistant coach. Anna as my first offensive coordinator job, made the playoffs there. Staff got let go, went to Spring Westfield with a friend named Corby Meekins, a legendary coach down there, coached for a semester there, and then was the offensive coordinator at China Spring. Went to Grapevine with Randy Jackson, was there as an assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, and then got the job, my first head coaching job at Lake Worth. So that's kind of, there's more to it. Like I said, there's a lot of pathways, but getting my first head coaching job at Lake Worth, and then, made my way from there back to Colleyville, was a coordinator for Joe Willis at Colleyville for 2 years, and then got, when Joe left and went to Tyler, got the opportunity to come down to Vandergrift High School with Coach Sanders. Was coordinator there for 3 years for him, and then, played for a state championship, lost barely to DeSoto, really good DeSoto team, and then my 4th year at Vandergrift, Coach Sanders talked to me about the Marble Falls job. It came open. My wife and I prayed about it. We interviewed, and Dr. Gasaway hired me, and we've been here for 3 years, and it's been a blessing. It's a great place. Everyone will tell you Marble Falls is a great place to live. It is. It's beautiful. Just lakes and just, man, it's we got a lease out here, so I hunt a little bit. Sunsets are incredible. People are incredible. It still really has a very much a small town feel. But it also is a place that's growing a little bit, and our town wants to grow and see what it can be. And that's one of the things I have with our kids, man. Our kids work so hard, and I've been really impressed with the way the community's kind of adapted to that and really said, what can we do to help our schools and our student athletes and our students in general. So that's me, and we're here.
Now, when were you at China Spring?
Oh, that would have been I want to say 12-13 season.
Okay. So when was Daddy Bell there?
Yes, I worked for Mark Bell for 1 year as OC, and then I went to Grapevine. So it may have been the 13-14 year. Yeah.
It was back when I was down the road at Clifton.
Yes, sir. Yeah. But no, it's I like I said, funny coincidence because you said, I'm from Clifton, knew Mark, and I'm like, well, I was born in Clifton. I grew up in Clifton, knew Dr. Spitzer, and so good old Witcher Hospital. I know all about it. But yeah, I love this area. I mean, China Spring was kind of the place we felt like, man, my wife loved it. It's close enough to Austin and Dallas to do what we need to do and be around family, but just small towns, right, and able to kind of really engage in people's lives and be a part of the community. And you asked that question later about being a head coach and finding the right fit. And I think for everybody, there's a right fit. For me, I knew kind of the 4A to 6A level, and really the 4A level's kind of been home for me just because I feel like you have a better opportunity to impact your community by being present in it. 6A can be hard because you may have multiple schools, you have multiple feeders, you have all these different things, and people are so separated just by nature of the size of the school. So 4A has been a great fit for us, and Marble Falls has been really a great place for our family. So
I kind of wondered when you were talking about having been from smaller towns and then you wind up in those big cities. I was like, well, how was that? It
was great. It was great for several things. I think really it was great for learning. When you go to a big 6A school that's had success, you have opportunities to go places and do things that maybe a little small town country boy like me hadn't seen before. And as a head coach, that really helps because you get to kind of have the full picture of maybe I'm a small school, but maybe I can think like a big school in some things. And I think that helps. And I think when I was at Vandergrift and I was at Colleyville and you're at 6A schools, I think sometimes thinking like a small school coach can help too because, we can get too much really quickly. And so sometimes paring back schedules, how we use kids, scheme, things like that. The 4A, 3A, 2A model can be real helpful if you have that knowledge to be able to pull it in and go, hey, maybe we don't try to do as much. Maybe we look at it in a little different way, how we practice, how we think, how we plan, how we play.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. Well, tell me, what's the district like this year?
We've got a really good district. It's my first year we had Stephenville, Brownwood, Burnett, and Lampasas and us. And so
that's a tough one.
It was, and we were like, man, that's first year. All right, UIL, thank you. Go 2 years through that, and we have a 2-8 record, 3-7 record, missed the playoffs both years. We realigned, and if you had asked me at realignment, Coach, what do you think? And everyone before that, what do you think, Coach? Where are you going? I said, guys, I have no idea. The UIL does what the UIL does. I've stopped a long time ago trying to figure out.
You don't put the pins on the map and rubber bands around them again?
Coach, I don't have the patience for that. And two, if I'm wrong, it just makes me mad because I'm wrong, right? I spent all this time on this that I could have been thinking about something else. So I just kind of say, wherever we land, we're gonna go compete. We want to make playoffs. We want to be successful, but we're not going to worry about that. But I did say the one thing I think, because we moved Brownwood out, they dropped to Division II. I think we'll lose Stephenville because there's really no draw to us there. Right? You know, we got Lamp, Burnett, and us.
Yeah.
We've got Fredericksburg near us. We've got some schools in the south with Davenport and some other things. So I thought, well, if anything, we'll go south or maybe we'll go east. But I don't think we'll go back north to Stephenville. And sure enough, I pull it up, and Coach Spear, who's a good friend of mine, Ben looks at me and goes, "Stephenville again?" I just went, because I couldn't find us on the sheet, because I'm like, there's no way. And so that was one of the big things was, you know, we look and we go, okay, we got Stephenville, great. What an opportunity, right? Sterling Doty has done an incredible job, storied program, great coaching staff. You know, it's a great team to measure yourself against. And then we look over and we've got, okay, well, they added China Spring to us. Wow, you know, two years removed from a state championship, well coached, have experience with them. My DC is from there. Taylor Wolf brought him over. Mark Gutierrez got another junior high coach, so we got some familiarity. So another state championship level program, right? We get to marry ourselves to and say, you know, what do we got? And then you add Gerald to that, and Gerald's, you know, Alan Hare's done a great job over there. Played him all 3 years here, 2 years in non-district, and then this year we'll play him in district. Physical team, you know, well coached, execution based, got great coaches. So, you know, another good matchup. And then you go Lamp and Burnett, and huge, you know, rivalry in the Burnett and Lamp group. Burnett, people will tell you around here, Burnett is our rival, right? That's a big deal. And so, and they're a great team, well coached. You know, I think Ben's done a great job kind of developing culture there. We talked about that earlier. And then Lampasas, Troy's done a phenomenal job there. Been in the playoffs two rounds deep almost every year for the past 7 years, I think.
I've watched them play the last couple of years because they were playing Salado all the time, and they play well.
They play hard. They play really hard, and Troy gets a lot out of those kids, and they're talented. They've got big numbers. But yeah, and so I would say if you look at our schedule, you know, we are in a tough district, but I also feel like in the past 3 years, we've really built our strength, our mentality, our offense, our defense around being able to be competitive in that. And so we're excited about what this year's hold. You know, I'd love to tell you we're going to be, you know, 10-0, we're going to be 9-1, but I don't know. I know our kids are ready to play. I know our coaches are ready to get to games, and I know our kids have been working hard to be ready for that kickoff. So
yeah, well, and that's all you can do.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's the way to do it. So, okay, well, let's get to today's topic. Today's topic is strategies for landing the first head job. What's the normal, usual pathway that coaches take en route to getting that first head job?
Man, I thought about this, Brandon. I think the hardest thing is I said right now there's really no normal anymore. I mean, back in the day, you know, when you didn't have the THSCA Coaches Job Board, you didn't have Twitter and Matt Stepp telling you about every opening. You know, you'd hear about an opening word of mouth, and you'd send your resume in via mail, and maybe you got a phone call, and maybe you didn't. That's kind of, I was at that early stage of my career when that was still kind of the thing. The old Coach Network came up, and that kind of changed things digitally. Yeah. But you still had to have somewhat of an in.
The old coach.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I say that, and everybody's like, what is that? I'm like, you have no idea. Coaches lived on that in the spring. I remember that. And so, but that was just kind of becoming a new thing. And so I think there's no normal anymore when I look at it. I don't know that we don't see this, and I don't know that we'll see this as consistently anymore, where you have a guy that goes to a position and he stays as an assistant to a coordinator to a head coach in one school very often.
Yeah.
I just don't know that. I think that, one, the feeling from most coaches is I need to move out to move up a lot of times, because if someone's in a good situation, that coordinator a lot of times, I had a coordinator tell me, hey, you need to go get a coordinator's job somewhere else. I'm comfortable. I don't want to be a head coach. I'm staying here. It's a great place. And that was great advice. It got me to say, okay, I'm going to go out on my own and not have a safety net, right? And I think there's no normal anymore. So what I think when you look at that path, it's really about what fits you. You know, you asked a question later about, you know, the right size and fit. Do you take any job? And I think applying to that idea of the normal pathway is you got to start thinking as a young coach, really, what do I see myself doing? And if you say, which most do, a lot of them will be like, I want to be a head coach AD, or do I want to be just a head coach, right? Then you need to start looking at what does that look like parameter-wise for me? Am I a 1A coach? Because there's a lot of guys that be like, yeah, I want to be a head coach. They'll take a 1A job, and they've got no experience. Man, building that schedule and running the fields and putting down water hoses and making sure that, and you're coaching with 4 guys, that looks totally different than a 6-man or 6A staff where you got 30 coaches from the high school to the junior high, and everybody's doing a different single job. So I think that you got to set parameters for yourself of what do I really see myself fitting in. Like you said, growing up in a small town, going to big schools. Does that fit me? But I think you have to start kind of identifying that for yourself. Like, where are my parameters, and start kind of, as you grow, sometimes those change.
Yeah.
Then eliminate that and kind of push that aside.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there is, I know guys, especially in college, guys that have never been a coordinator at the college level and get a head coaching job. Joey McGuire, right? Joey McGuire has been a head coach in high school, goes to an assistant position in college, and suddenly he's a head coach. Well, it wasn't suddenly.
Yeah.
He had connections. He had expertise. He took a job where he knew he could train under Matt Rule that would push him to do that and put him in rooms that he hadn't been in. We didn't see all that, though. We just see, well, it's an assistant coach going to head coaching job. So when he's successful, you go, well, he had this path. It wasn't a path. He had already laid that out and said, I'm going to be a head coach. I want to go to college to be a head coach. He didn't go into Baylor just to be an assistant. He went to Baylor to be trained to be the head coach at Tech. And I think even at the high school level as a coach, you got to put yourself in those situations where I'm attaching myself to someone that fits what I'm trying to do in those parameters. I want to be a coordinator. I want to be a head coach. I want to be an AD. You've got to help train me. I trust you to do that. And I find that kind of location for me and start building out of it. But yeah, I just don't know that there's a normal anymore that you can just say this is the pathway. I think everybody's got such a different story because of how all of our job has changed and how our business has changed.
Well, and it seems like now too that superintendents and boards are a little more open to a different pathway getting up there as well, not just, okay, well, no, you haven't gone from this to this to this to this, so we're not even going to look at you. They seem to be a little more open, and like you said, you're talking about knowing people. How big is the, and we'll just go ahead and get to that question kind of, how big is the networking aspect of Texas high school football?
I think the networking aspect is huge. I don't think it's what people think it is. Like, it's not network. Like, a board member calling you going, hey, we got this job, doesn't guarantee you even an interview.
Yeah.
So networking with boards, like, well, I grew up in this town, so they kind of know me. Man, that's hard to do anymore. Like, it used to be like a good old boy system in the sense of, like, if I knew this board member and the school board member and the principal, I knew I was going to get the job. Well, now there's too much going on. They can't give you the job based on name recognition and local. They need, because they know they may have to fire you. And so I think that there's been this networking idea of, like, who do you network with? For me, what coaches need to do if they're wanting to move in these positions is they need to be networking early in their careers, learning what they believe in, establishing their core values, establishing their scheme and belief, so that when they get to a point that they're wanting to go interview, they can sell their whole piece of who they are, scheme, and all this stuff they built, and they can define it so that they sound like, okay, I can go to a board and tell them exactly what I'm going to be, and they can make a decision on me. They don't need to necessarily know me, and that's what's like you're talking about. The name recognition kind of has gone away, where it's just, well, you have to be a coordinator. No, if you've been an assistant head coach and you've never called plays, but you're great at organization, certain levels, you're going to have that. Smaller levels, probably not. They probably want to hire a coach that's got coordinator experience, that they've seen call and they've seen what his past is, because they can point to that, because there's less coaches and they need you to be the best of defense or offense. Bigger schools, they may say, hey, we want an organizer. We want a guy that's a culture guy that's going to build the culture and build the school, and he can hire 2 really good coordinators. So I think that it's definitely the networking piece is figuring out who are the people that can get you the information that you want as a head coach. For me, I think one of the biggest things I did was I left the Colony to go work with Mickey Moss at South Garland, because they were running an offense with Nick Florence that was the Malzahn system. And I had watched him and I'd studied it, and I'd watched Gus Malzahn rise up, to Arkansas and then to Auburn and Tulsa. And what he was doing offensively made sense to me. Utilizing personnel, simple play calls, just the way that so I wanted to go learn that. I couldn't learn that at the Colony. Had great coaching. Dan Burke was a great head coach, had people around me that were great coordinators, but I wanted to go work under that system. And so I made that strategic move for me to learn that system in 3 years, 2 at Heath and 1 at South Garland with Chris Mosley, the OC, and learn what he was doing and then turn it into my own. Well, for me, that was the strategic networking move. That was me saying, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do, so that I can become an expert at that thing to make the next move to coordinator at some point.
So it sounds to me like, okay, a way to explain what you're saying, or a way to phrase it, would be networking with a purpose.
Yes, very much so.
You're trying to network into things that you can, as Carl Absek would say, put in your toolbox.
For sure. Absolutely.
You take those different things that that's something I really want to, to utilize. So I'm going to go network with the people that can help me get better at that.
Yeah,
that's good.
And I think that I think exactly. I think the tool belt deal is a great analogy. It's really the idea that I tell my coaches, all my sport coaches today, if they're new young coaches, I want you to go find somebody that you played against that maybe is not in our district anymore, or someone in our area, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. Don't go to college. Go to someone that does something that you really like, culture-wise, practice planning-wise, scheme-wise, and go, hey, can I meet you for coffee? And I'll pay for your lunch. Can we just come? Can I meet you at the office and let's sit and talk? Because that's where the real learning comes. It's not the clinics with the college coaches that give you like a little scheme idea or something or tidbit here and there. It's I'm taking your offense because I believe and I've seen it work with kids like mine, and I'm going to learn what that looks like for me, or I'm going to see how you practice. Because I think that's the thing I do more than not now is I'm not really looking for new schemes and stuff like that. That's all based on personnel kids. I'm looking at practice plans. Like, how are you practicing with the heat? How are you practicing with less kids, with more kids? Like, I'm trying to find that perfect sweet spot of how do we get everything we need in a practice schedule, and I want to go to the people that are like me. So I'm not going to go talk to Coach Sanders at Vandergrift about practice because we don't practice like them because we can't.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to someone like if I wasn't in district with Troy, hey, Coach, how are y'all practicing the lamp passes? Me and Ben Spear, we'll talk at times about, hey, how are you running your camp? How are you doing this? Because I think that networking is, like you said, with a purpose. And then when I go talk to the next person that needs to hire me to be a head coach or a coordinator or whatever, I've got this and it's locked down and I can give it to you clearly and plainly. And I'm not just saying, well, when I get there, I'm going to do this, even though it doesn't fit. Because what a lot of those interview panels, they're going to want to know is, what you do and who you are, does it fit with our community? And I think that's a big thing, is that it's not necessarily that you weren't ready or are you a fit? And that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of young guys get really, they can get frustrated when you don't get the call back or you don't get that job. And they're like, well, I did all these things, I did all this stuff, but was it a fit? And it has to be a fit for you, but it also has to be a fit for the town, the community. They got to feel like everything meshes because it's a big job. And I think that's the thing that every day I think about, man, this is a big job. There's so many pieces that it touches, so many kids and coaches and parents, communities. You've got to make sure it's a fit for both of you. And that networking at least prepares you to get to that point. But once you get to that point, it really is the whole group has to feel like this is a work for all of us. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's good. Okay, are there things that some of these younger head coaches, which that kind of covered a lot of that, the networking and getting things, are there some more specific things you can think of that they need to make sure that they're doing over the years, strategies to start making sure that they are ready when the time comes and they want to start interviewing?
Yeah, I think one of the big things is, the ODAA joke we all use, other duties as assigned. I never had ODAA. I always would go to the coach and I'd be like, I want to learn huddle. To show me DSV. Coach, I want to be the special teams guy and not have any knowledge of it, but I better go learn, because I think that's one of the things is when you get thrown in the deep end and you ask for that, if you're worth your salt, like you start swimming real fast. And so I would say that anytime you can be, from a young assistant at the junior high to the high school, being around the field house all the time, because you pick up nuggets and learn and don't know that you're learning. I was at Plano with Brent's Plano Senior High, and one of the things I would watch was all the coaches, the coordinators, how they met, what they did, and just listen to them. And I was picking things up that I said later that I never knew, right? How they did their locker room, how they did their helmet stickers, right? And I think that idea is, the more you can be around something, the better it is, but ask for stuff to do. When you get that freshman coaching position, say, Coach, let me do the huddle input. Coach, let me do the game planning breakdown. Coach, give me something, because what you're doing is you're just putting yourself around film more, you're putting yourself around scheme more, you're building beliefs about what you want to do and how you want to do it, because that's the thing I think you start learning as you get older is there is no one right way to break film down. There's no one right way to do huddle. There's what fits you, and you start finding that out when you do it. You can't suddenly learn that if you're now the head coach and you've never touched huddle, or you've never touched special teams, or you never have an opinion on offense or defense. You got to start building that as you go. So I think it's not a networking thing as much as I'm going to take on anything you can, and I'm going to try to become an expert at it. And now I go network with people that you're a special teams guy. How we're going to run your punt. Let me see what it is, right? How do you do that? Why do you do that? What are the rules? Does it fit us? And then the other thing is, this is a little older, and it's kind of changed. One of the ways that I really cut my teeth, I worked the UT football camps for years. I got hired when I was at, I want to say, the Colony my last year, and at South Garland did it, and was at Heath doing it. And I would drive down, and it was back in the day, we'd spend almost 2 weeks straight camps for just youth camps, kids. And they put you up, they give you gear, give you some stuff, they feed you every night. But what I would do is I would go in, and when we were working, they'd put you with one of those coaches. So you'd be working with Greg Davis. Like, I was working with quarterbacks with Greg Davis, and that dude he forgot more football than I know. But when we get done, I'd work so hard to be his best assistant that he would go in and watch film in the summer. So we'd leave the bubble, and everybody would go back to their dorm for 5 hours and then come back for the second workout. He'd walk out and say, "Hey, do you want to go watch film with me?" Yeah, I do. And so I'd go sit in dark with Greg Davis for 5 hours, not knowing any of it. Like, I didn't understand offensive line play. I didn't understand how they were running the receivers. But I would just sit there and I'd write for 5 hours, and he'd show me his pants protection, his shorts protection, his Dockers protection, how they called it and why. And then I would ask questions that I didn't even know the answer to, and he'd give me something. And so I built a relationship with Greg Davis over 4 years, and then had access to that later. Right? And Bobby Kennedy, when he was the receivers coach there. And then later, when I got to be a recruiting coordinator at other schools, I already had that. They would come in, and we already had a relationship.
Yeah.
And so those networking connections, that camp created it, but it created it because I would give up 2 weeks of my life and my family's life. Like, my wife will tell you, like, I was on the field. My wife was 9 months pregnant with our first daughter, or with our first child, Addison. And so she's in Abilene, Texas. We're going to move to the Colony. I've already got the house set up. I'm spending 2 weeks in Austin, and I have my first cell phone. And the one rule Coach Brown had was, don't have your cell phones out on the field. And so I walk up to Mac Brown the first day, and he thinks I want to shake his hand. I go, "Coach, I just need to tell you, my wife's 9 months pregnant. I'm not going to get on this phone, but if I do." And so sure enough, we're on the field one day, and all the coaches were coming around checking on me because he told them. And I'm like, "No, she's fine, she's fine." Well, about week 1.5, we're about to get ready to be done with the camp session, and we're doing like routes on air, 7-on-7, and my phone buzzes. And so I step away immediately, and I pull it up. As soon as I did, Greg Davis, Mac Brown, Bobby Kennedy, all the coaches, all of them. I was just crazy. Is she here? They knew her name. They knew what was going on. But it was because, again, I had built that relationship with them, and they trusted me to know that I'm not going to answer that phone unless I did. But that networking just created opportunities. Well, it also created, one with Coach Wigginton at Allen. He worked those camps when he was at Comfort, Texas. And so we were at camp together. And now he's a 6A head coach at Allen, past president of THSCA, and he's one of my mentors. That started at a camp at University of Texas, where we were just two coaches working together. And I think those kind of relationships, if you can find ways to, whether it's a camp or whether it's a quarterback ranch camp or Elite 11 or whatever, I did all those. Those were just relationships that I just kept building that turned into something else, because as you know, in this business, you don't know when someone's going to go and say, "Man, I don't know who I have for this, but that dude will work. I know he'll work. He may not know much football, or he may not be that great. He'll work." And so a lot of my life has been people calling other people and saying, "You need to call this guy," or, "Hey, I've got a spot. What do you think?" And so that kind of was established at some of those camps and some of those different networking pieces where I was purposely going, I'm going to give up time with my family or time with my summer to go do that, and it always paid off. It always paid off in some small way, whether it be dealing with a recruit, opportunities to be around really bright football guys, and then finally, culminating in this opportunity to be the AD head football coach here.
Okay, no, that is good. That's good. Okay, now when it comes to coaches applying for those first head jobs, are there things coaches can do to kind of market themselves a little more when they're trying to get that first interview?
Yeah,
And I don't know if I'm phrasing that right.
You are.
But
I think what I struggle with is I always tell guys, I don't ever want to be the Twitter coach, right? Like, I don't ever want to be like, if you see my stuff on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever, I don't like to be in the pictures much. I don't really want to be the focus. But I also understand in the world, because we talked about how much it's changed, there is a sense of visibility that you need to have, and I kind of wrote that visibility down. What that looks like, I don't know that I'm great at it, or I don't know that I have a great answer for it. But I do know that if you're interested in being a head coach in AD, that's got to be known. Like, Like, you've got to talk to your head coach. Like, I tell my guys, if you really want to be a head coach AD, when you walk in my office and interview, or you walk in my office and say, you need to tell me that. Don't assume I know, because the second I know, I'm treating you different. I'm giving you more responsibility. I'm grooming you differently, because I had guys that did that for me. Drew Sanders, great example, right? Drew knew that I wanted to be a head coach, knew I'd been a head coach, and said, hey, I'm going to give you some things. I want you handle it. Here's your role. And so same thing with Mickey Moss, same thing with Joe Willis. And so I think, one, visibility on your staff, visibility, in social media. I don't know that I would say, you need to put together an AI resume and put it out there and tell everybody, I'm the next head coach, I'm your next coordinator. But I do get that that's the world that a lot of these younger coaches live in. That clicks to them, that, like, if someone sees my stuff, that's one more opportunity. That's true. I would say in coaching, though, and in education, there's a sense of too much being said or too much being shown. It's okay to not push yourself on everybody.
Okay, I agree with you 100% there, because when I see the people out there on Twitter, putting the picture of themselves saying, I'm, like exactly what you just said, I'm this. There was some lady out there marketing herself on Twitter for a football director of operations.
DFO spot, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, to me, that's exactly what to me said, okay, no, I'll pass immediately on it, even though they may be fine on something. I don't know
it's hard. And I think, like I said, because it's a very, even, I never think I'm an old coach. I'm an old coach now. I have coaches on my staff that I coach.
Yeah.
So I'm an old coach, but it is that generation, and that is normal to them. What I will say is, like, when I first started, just to get a job, one of the things I did is I had my resume, I had it ready, and I would dress up and I would go to the places that I wanted to work, and I would set an appointment and I would knock on the door and I would wait for the coach, and I'd walk in and say, Coach, you don't have to do anything, interview me, nothing. I just want you to know I'm interested in a position. Here's my qualifications. Here's my goal. Here's what I want to do. If you have interest, please call me. And 99% of the time, Coach, sit down, I want to talk to you. Because I was recruiting a lot of the time early in my career. I was at Hardin-Simmons, and I was recruiting East Texas, and I was recruiting Dallas. So I had an open door. And I'm like, Coach, I'm going to recruit, but then at the end, I want to give you my resume, and I want to talk to you if you have time. And I would just let them know what I believed. And I said, Coach, this is what I want to do. And I think that's not gone. I think we kind of feel that way, that maybe that stuff's gone. It's not. If a coach showed up at my door and said, suit and tie, and said, Coach, I just want to talk to you about a position on your staff. Maybe you have something, maybe you don't. I've listened to what you've said. I've watched you. I've coached against you. I feel like you'd be a fit for what I want, and I'd like to talk to you about that. He's going to walk in my office, and I'm going to sit down and take his resume, and I'm going to have his number, and I'm going to put it on the front of my desk for the next time I call someone, or if I have a job now. Because that takes a lot of guts to walk into someone's office, wait for them, sit at the door, and have everything ready and just say, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because you're exposing yourself, right? You're opening yourself up and going, make fun of me, be the joke in the office, or be the guy that showed up and said, man, that guy's got something. Because it does take a lot to go do that. It's intimidating.
That's confidence.
Very much so.
That's a big confidence.
And so I don't think that's gone. I think that not enough. Like I tell my coaches, like,
I would appreciate that too.
Go find who you want to work for, or go find where you want to work for, like superintendents and things like that. There's opportunities that you're around them. Don't be afraid to walk up to our superintendent and shake his hand and just say, Coach, I know, or Mr. Dr. Gasaway, I know that you only know me as an assistant. I just want you to know, here's my goal, and in the future, if this fits at some point, I would love to talk to you about what you look for and what you want to know. Create those opportunities by having the confidence to say, I'd like to do this at some point. Maybe it's not a fit for you, but look, can I talk to you about it? That just says something about somebody. I mean, that says that you have a purpose and a plan for you.
And that's a marketing skill for everybody in every job.
Yeah.
That can apply to anything. Scrud, I went down, a neighbor 2 doors down is selling their house, and I saw a car pull up there looking at the for sale sign. I walked out, grabbed a business card out of my truck, walked right there to their house and said, hey, I said, are y'all shopping for houses? And they said, yes, we are. They said, we looked at this one this morning. I said, well, here's my card. I said, I'm a licensed home inspector in the area. I said, if I can be of any help to you, please give me a call. They called me the next day, and I've got an inspection set up. It's kind of a deal. And my wife, or my daughter was the one in there going, oh my gosh, Dad, that's so embarrassing. I'm like, it's not embarrassing. I said, I'm offering them a service if they would like to take advantage of it.
But that's the perception of a lot of things is, Dad, that's embarrassing. But it's not. Like,
No.
For a man to walk over and go, hey, you don't have to do anything with it, but that takes confidence. Like, I tell my kids all the time, like, you need to walk up, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and speak clearly. Why? Because that's something people don't do anymore. Kids wear hoodies, they cover their eyes. Adults do the same.
Yeah.
Adults will walk in with their head down and just kind of whisper I tell my coaches, don't whisper what you want. Like, tell me. Like, Coach, I think this would be a good idea. If you kind of hem and haw around it, I'm not listening to you because there's no confidence in that.
Yeah.
If you walk in and say, Coach, this is what I see, this is what I want, what do you think? I'm going to listen to you. And the same thing is true going to look for work or going to look for a job or interviewing. Like, there's got to be a belief, and people feel that in you. Like, when you walk face to face, I can feel your level of confidence and competence in yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big deal. And I think that played a big advantage to me, is that God opened that door for me to recruit for Coach Keeling all throughout East Texas. Like, I met Jeff Traylor when I was there. Like, the year that I was going and recruiting, they had the 3 state championships all in East Texas. It was Kilgore, it was Tyler Lee, and it was Gilmer, all the same year. And I went and met with every one of those coaches, and every one of them called me in summer. I'd already had a job, already moved. They all called me and said, Coach, I know you're done. I know you're done GAing. I know you're done coaching. We have a job right now, freshman job, varsity job, whatever. Can you get to East Texas? And I said, well, no, Coach, I've already got a job. Well, I'm keeping your number if you ever want to come down here. And I would get calls periodically from them. I'd get calls from random people that I had recruited for that met me that were offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators, because that's typically who did the recruiting. And they'd say, Coach, I got a head job. I'd love to talk to you about my special team spot. I didn't know who they were. I couldn't remember who they were. But they remembered me. And I think that opportunity to be able to go meet in person and schedule those times and do it on your time. Like, I wasn't going to say, hey, I'm missing a day of school to go do this. I'd do it in the summers. I'd do it in the end of spring when we had a day off. I'd call, email. I'd have a plan. I never surprised anybody. But I do think that gives you, it gets your name out there too. It lets people know, hey, have you talked to this guy? Yeah. What did you think? He's real well put together. Don't know if he knows football from anybody, but it impressed me that he at least talked to me.
Well, and just the fact that it's kind of saying this guy, he's interested in being here.
Yeah.
He's not just sending out random, resumes all over the place. He came and spoke to us, and he is obviously interested in being here.
Yeah. That's a great thing, too, is like a lot of young coaches will spam. There's nothing worse than me that, like, I'll get spam emails for coordinator jobs or for job resumes and things, and they'll have the wrong school on it. It'll have the wrong name.
The wrong
on it.
name, yeah.
They'll
I used to get
AI
those
it.
every once in a while.
And I tell everybody, the second that I see somebody else's name on it, I don't care where I just say no.
Yeah.
Because you're indiscriminate. You don't really want to be here. You just want the title or you want the job. You weren't purposeful enough to say, like, I never had a static letter. Like some people, guys, I have a static cover letter. I have this. I don't do that. I write a cover letter based on where, because I'm probably only applying for one spot or maybe two. I'm not throwing them in 50 different places.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things too, is like, be where your feet are. And if you're going to go, they need to know that you want to be there versus this is just something. It's just an opportunity to go somewhere else. And so I think that mentality has kind of got to be something, if you're going to be a head coach, that yes, it doesn't look the same where you stay in one place for 10 years, though that's a great option if you can do that. I do think that there can be this spam mentality of I'm just going to throw it all out there and hope something hits. Well, you're probably losing more than you're winning, because the ones that are going to call you are ones that aren't paying attention to it. The ones that aren't are the ones that probably are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, so I'll ask this specifically now, should you be prepared to take any head job that you can get to get that foot in the door as a head coach?
I say no. And the reason why I say that is, like I said earlier, I think that you have to know really what you want and what fits you. So I interviewed for several head jobs. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to interview early. I wanted to be a head coach at a young age, and so I had got experience. I felt like I was ready. I guarantee you I wasn't. Like, I know now, like, you look back and you go, I was not ready for this job if they gave it to me. But I felt like I was, right? Confidence, all that stuff. Palmer High School, all right, interviewed for it. It was a head football job and came to the final two. And a guy named Brian Garrison got it. He deserved it. He did a great job there, made the playoffs, turned it around. He leaves after a year. Actually, he steps out. He stays there, but he steps out and takes a principal's job, and now he's going to go into administration. They immediately call me and say, job's yours. And I had just been at South Garland. We went 3 rounds deep, lost to Longview, had this, we're going to Heath with Mickey Moss, and AD calls me and goes, it's your job right now. No question. Come get it. And I said, I really appreciate it, but I'm going to turn you down. Because after I had gone through that year and seen it and thought about it, like, it wasn't what I wasn't ready, and I knew I wasn't ready at that point, and it wasn't a fit for me anymore. I could have taken it, gotten a head job, and I probably would have hurt a lot of people and hired a lot of people that would have had to move because of me. So I think that for me, there's a lot of people that just want to be a head coach. Do you really want to be a head coach at 1A Texas? Do you want to move your family from Arlington to Lamesa, right? Do you want to go to Houston? Like, we talk about that with our family all the time. Like, we lived in Houston 1 year. We lived in the Woodlands and worked for Corby at Spring Westfield. And it was a great experience. Learned a ton. Houston is not somewhere we want to be as a family.
Yeah.
And so we eliminated that and said, it doesn't matter who calls. Like, that's not a fit for us. I think that you have to start making those decisions, because once you start on that road, you're just as quickly going to get hired as you get fired. And are you where you have help? Do you want to stay at that level? Is it a level that fits you? Is it a level that fits your family? Because that's the other thing too. This as a head coach, this place has to fit my family or they're miserable. And if they're miserable, that carries into me. That carries to my coaches, my kids. They don't want to be around the field house. My kids feel that. My players feel that. Right? So I don't think that. I don't think you need to be I'm not a take any job guy. I'm a what do you want, and shoot for those things.
Okay.
What level? Like I would tell you before, like I told Logan last year when we talked about it, because he asked that question. I said, Coach Simmons, I'm a 4A to 6A guy. That's kind of where I'm at. And I would honestly probably tell you 4A, maybe 5A. I may 6A depending. It's a very dependent piece, because when you start working in multi-school districts and you see the issues, doesn't matter how successful your program is, you still have to fight all the administrative stuff that's with other schools, and what happens when you're successful and they're not, and you can get stuff but they can't. Parity's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that you really have to start evaluating as a person that wants to be there, is this just a job I'm trying to get, or is it the right job for me? And I don't know that that's right for everybody, but I think for me, I would say no.
Okay, so what about, and I've had coaches ask me this before, saying, hey, there's a head job opening up at such and such place. I'm really not real interested, but I know someone there that said they can get me an interview. Should I go take the interview just for the experience?
I don't think the interview's a bad idea. My wife and I talked about that last night. I think that's one networking, and two, but you need to be able to be honest. If you know you're not going to take that job and there's no chance, you got to ask yourself, am I willing to burn that bridge? Because if someone called for me or someone got me in and they offer it to you and you say no, is that bridge burned?
Oh, so you got to use caution if you're going to.
I think so. I think especially if it's a relationship there. If it's just they call you and you don't have anything on there and they call you and say, hey, we want you to interview for this, sure, love to do it. If that's a fit. And you may already know I'm not going. But I think that, again, like it's a big deal, because you're going and meeting community members who may fall in love with you and think this is our guy. And then now they're saying, why weren't we enough? What did we not meet? And you want to say, well, it's just a job. This is not just a job. And we talked about it earlier off the record. Like, this is not just a job. And so you're dealing with people's kids. You're dealing with communities. You're dealing with your family and their family and your in-laws. So I do think that there's a level of caution you have to take on just saying, I'm just going to get an interview. And that's what a lot of guys say, oh, go interview anywhere you can. I'm a different mindset on it. Do I know someone there that I could end up losing a relationship that I don't want to lose?
Yeah.
Or could it impact? Or could I go and really like it and have already told my family, we're not going, I'm just going to go interview? Because the second you say this, and you know this is, the second I say, hey guys, we got to talk, everybody in the house gets real nervous, right? Hey, we got to have a conversation. Every kid, the mom she's pulling out boxes and going, all right, where are we going? Right? So I think that those are things you got to consider now, more so than in the past, where maybe you could just interview and go away. Now it's people that you're connected, especially when you say, I've got a connection.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay. How long did you try to get a head job before you got your first interview? Let's say before first interview.
Before first head coaching interview?
Yep.
So I started my career at 20, and I think I got my first head coaching interview at at Palmer High School, and that was at 27. So I want to say I was 27 when I got my first, and I'd been in coaching 1 year at Rice, 2 years in college, and 1 year at the Colony. And so I was in coaching for 4 years. as hired staff. I had been volunteering. I didn't say that, but I'd volunteered at Waco Midway my senior year of college, and I volunteered at Abilene High and Abilene Wiley when I was in Abilene at college. But just 4 years full time, and I got a coaching call for Palmer. That same year, I got a coaching call for Pascal High School and interviewed there. I didn't get my first head coaching job till 36, so it was about a 10-year gap of starting that process or that idea to getting it.
Was there a lot of frustration on your part that it wasn't happening, or were you pretty patient about that?
No, I would say that, you talked about wisdom earlier, like knowing what you don't know. But I think looking back, like I'd get close, like those Palmer job. I thought I had it. and I didn't get it. In my mind, I was the best candidate. Like, right, you should feel that way.
Yeah.
Looking the year later, when I told them no, I wasn't. I had some things and some things that I learned that year that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have an answer for that. I don't know how to deal with that. What about this? I'm not the AD. What do I do when I'm doing that? So I think that there were some questions I had, but I would always say there was a little disappointment every time I got a no. Like I always walked in the room feeling like I was the best candidate, even if, Drew Sanders is standing next to me. I'm like, I got this, right? And so I think there's a little bit of that, and I think that comes with competition. I think just being a naturally competitive person, you feel that, like, get it or don't get it. But I also feel like God saved me from some things, not being ready and keeping those interviews as a no. But I also learned something from everyone. And I will say that's the thing about interviewing is you always go in and you get a question or you have an experience that you didn't know something about. And you go, okay, that's the thing I got to remember next time. And then I would go home and debrief with my wife. And she'd say, how do you feel like you did? And I'd say, well, I think I did good. And then I never felt bad about asking someone, hey, was there anything that you thought I could have done better at? Like I'm always a very self-reflective person. I want to know how I can improve, and so that was one of the things that I think I was better at asking. Okay.
Did you do anything specific to prepare for head job interviews, or did you just kind of look at it like either I know it or I don't?
No, I absolutely. I'd probably say I overprepared. One, I would go to my head coaches if I had a good relationship with most of them. I had a good relationship. I'd say, hey, can you kind of just mock interview me? Can you ask me some questions and then give me your opinion? And that you better be vulnerable for that, because if you really want him to tell you, he may go, that's not, you don't want to say that, and that's not, and I can't believe you said that. Yeah. But I think the mock interview helps. I think my wife would do it. She would read some questions I'd type up, and I'd try to be spontaneous, and I'm pretty good like that off the cuff. But I never wanted to leave something that important up to just, I'm going to be who I am and walk in there. Like I always had a presentation. I always rehearsed it. I was always pretty prepared. And I always knew what I needed to get to. I always felt like these are the things you need to hear about me and know about me, even if I don't get to X's and O's. But I was always prepared for X's and O's because it's a football job. You better be able to walk up there and sell what you're going to sell and believe in what you're going to believe in. And they need to know it, even if they don't know it, because most of them don't know X's and O's. But they're going to look at your confidence on the board, or they're going to look at your confidence on film and go, okay, he believes he can do this. So I just think the preparation part is a big deal in a multitude of ways. Call people you trust, ask questions, and also call people that are on. If you know anybody have connections to boards, hey, what are you looking for? What can I do? I always talk about dressing like you never get a second chance to make a first impression. I'm going to wear a suit and tie if I want that job.
Yeah.
It may be boots and jeans and a suit and tie, but I'm not going to go in there without a jacket on, and that's just who I am. I want them to understand I believe this is a profession, that it's professional, and I want them to see that when I walk in. And I'm also going to make sure, I'll tell this one thing, this is simple, but you're going to laugh at me. I'm going to shake everybody's hand and say their name individually. Whether they're on the hiring squad, whether if the janitor's in there cleaning up, I'm going to walk over to him first, and I'm going to introduce myself. And I'm going to make sure, because the first person you don't say hi to will be the board president. The first person's hand will be the superintendent. Or you'll think that this person looks like they're in charge, and really the guy over there quiet just taking notes. So I shake everybody's hand, I look them in the eye, and I say their name, because you don't want to say their name wrong. And you want to use their name in the interview. You want them to know that this is a personal connection. I see you, and I want to say that. And that's something that I got taught a long time ago by a professor in college, and it's something I've always taken to heart.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Now, okay, last question on this part. How long do you say it takes once you get that first head job? How many years, if they ask you what it would take to get your program firmly established?
I think that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
I
couldn't answer it myself.
My wife, when I said that last night, she goes, 2 years. I'm like, you're optimistic, right? And so
I was thinking 3.
I would say if you said you have to give me a number, I would say 3 full years kind of should be, you should see who you are, or you should at least start seeing that in your program. But everything it's such, what we do is because you're not recruiting, and because education is in the state that it's in with hiring and firing and people changing jobs. It's such a dynamic industry that it's so hard to say there's a timeline, meet it, right? And things change, and you change, and your situation changes. But I would say, to me, like I say about 3 to 4 years, and I think 3 years is kind of you should be seeing something change. It may not be wins immediately, and we know that as coaches. Like, parents are going to be like, you better win. But we all know, my superintendent is incredible at this. He's like, I understand it may not always come in wins, but I want to see your culture. And I think that's the key, is that if you walked in and you talked to my kids, are they saying the things that I'm saying? Do they act the way, the standard we set? My coaches, do they meet those standards? And I think that's a 3-year process. And I think some of it's losing people and training them. Sometimes it's keeping people and teaching them. Sometimes it's just starting a whole thing over. I think that every situation is so different.
I guess that affects a lot of it is what are you walking into?
Yeah.
That you have to change. How many years is it going to take?
If you talk about, if you have a staff ready-made and you're transferring your entire staff, maybe it happens faster.
Yeah.
If you're walking into a staff that's not yours and you have to lose some and gain some, if you have to turn over the entire staff, but you have nobody to bring, I just think that it's such a, like I said, a dynamic situation in what we do, and there's so many variables.
Yeah.
Are you the AD? Are you not? Do you have community support? Are they against you because of what you run offensively or defensively? There's so many things that can impact it. I just think it's a hard thing to do. I think 3 years you should see something.
Yeah.
Because year 1 is you kind of maybe starting. Year 2 is you've kind of had off season. You've had your summer. You've had 1 summer at least going into 2. Year 3 should be, okay, we can kind of see the bones of it. And I think that if you're not seeing that in year 3, you have to evaluate and go, okay, guys, why are we not seeing these things? Where are we missing? And I think it's a good time to evaluate. Now, does that mean in 3 years it's set? I would hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. But, like I said, that's a good question. It's hard.
Okay. Well, that was the last question on that part. That's a lot of good information you gave us there. Let's go to the rapid fire.
All right.
What's the most unusual situation you've encountered as a coach?
When you have the fight training and you stand and everybody says, all right, guys, there's a fight, and you all run to the numbers and turn around and tell your kids don't get off the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You never expect to use that, right? Everybody does fight training. Hey, there's a fight on the field. Coaches walk out. I'm the only one that goes out. One of my kids at Lake Worth, Texas, and I'm not going to say his name. He knows who he is. Kid runs off the field because we're playing Kennedale, Texas, and Barrett Browning, the number 1 overall draft pick, the kid that was a stud linebacker, he was all everything. I saw that kid catch touchdowns. He's still on the field in the 4th quarter, and he takes our quarterback, throws him down, and kicks him on the sideline. And I see it happen. Well, as soon as I see it happen, it's our game 10, week 10. My quarterback, I've already pulled my starter. He's on the sideline with me, and the backup's in. That's who gets kicked. And so I see it, and I start to go out, and all of a sudden, all my coaches run out and turn, and I see my little 10-6, quarterback hauling butt toward the end zone, going around, and I try to catch him. Now, remember, 10-6. Yeah. And so my coaches, one of who is on staff with me now, brought this up yesterday. I'm running, and I reach, and he runs away, and my finger catches his jersey, and I fall, and I land on my shoulder, and I separate my shoulder.
Oh, my God.
So... And it's all on film, and everyone sees it. We have to call the game. Benches start to clear. We call the game. We have to get Richard Barrett, who's a good friend. Barrett's a great coach, good man. We come up together, and I've got my shoulder basically in a sling. And we're going to the playoffs next week. And that was probably one of the weirdest I've had. And I get that brought up a lot. I'll get a random text from my old DC and my OC and my trainer, and she's like, "How's your shoulder?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
I haven't seen Coach Barrett in forever because he was there way back in the early 2000s when we were playing them when they were in our district. He
is one of the highest compliments ever. End of my first year at Lake Worth. he comes over and shakes my hand and says, "Man, that I am so impressed with how hard your kids played. I'm so like it was just one of those things. Like I knew who he was. He didn't know who I was. Right? I mean, I'm nobody important." But it meant a lot. And then we kept a great relationship the next 3 years. And then when I got this job, he called me. When I got to Vandergrift, he called me.
Cool.
Just a top-notch guy. And you know, he is a hard-nosed coach, man. He is a ball coach. He's going to run it, and that's the way they're going to be. But yeah, he's a great guy, and I really appreciated that. You know, he gave me some tips of wisdom and stuff after my first year. But just a good guy.
Does he still run all the jet sweep stuff and all of that?
He did at that time. He ran. It was a wing tee in a version of spread.
Yes,
they had some stuff,
and it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, they were good. Okay, favorite pass route.
I'm not going to tell you what I call it, but curl flat. I think that there's a million ways you can run curl flat with average quarterbacks sprinting out, whatever. And I think it's a simple concept that just translates across everybody.
Yeah.
So
favorite run play.
I'm a counter guy. I'm a gap guy. So GH more than GT, but counter. I just feel like even at the young levels, zone can be really hard because there's so many people working together. I feel like gap's just easier. I mean, you can get to veer out of it, you can get to triple out of it, you can get to different things. But I'm a counter guy.
Okay. Do you have hair policy with your kids?
It's changed. You know, when we grew up, we needed it short, and you did it. I think now, I mean, you know, just being in some different schools, you just kind of go, okay, what's really important to me? What am I going to fight? What I tell kids is like, it doesn't need to affect how you play, and it doesn't need to affect heat. If you can't, if you're sweating bullets with that hair every day, you got to make a decision. And the kids typically, once they start playing and the helmet gets on, they'll mess with it. But I tell them the only real color rule I have or hair rule I have is they can't have random colored hair if they're playing for us. You know, out of season, if they're doing something, they color the hair pink or purple, whatever. We'll talk about it. They'll get it washed out. But during season, it's normal hair colors. Yeah. Now I've got a quarterback right now that's got blonde hair because he said this is going to be playoff year, so he's putting blonde hair in. I said, okay, I'm gonna let you do it, but it's normal color, right? He's already dirty blonde kid. But yeah, that's the only thing I've said is no hair color. And I'd love to say, like, I would love to be the guy that's like, we're gonna not do this, and this. I think that I've changed a lot on that just because what am I willing to, like, what's important to me, really? Yeah. Like, is it really discipline or am I asking for obedience, right? Like, and that's really been a challenge in my coaching career of like, you know, what are the things that I want these kids to leave with? And if it's your hair can't be this long and that defines whether or not you can play for me and whether or not you have worth, I've got to reevaluate that. Now, that's not to say that it's not a right rule to have or a good rule to have. I've just changed a lot in it because in the end, I want these kids to respond and not just try to obey. Yeah. And so that's been a big thing for me.
No, that's good. Heads or tails on a coin flip?
Heads.
Always?
Yeah.
How'd it work out for you this year?
Lost more than I won, but, you know, yeah, I'm a heads guy. My wife did the same, so I was confirmed. I was like,
offense or defense if you win the flip?
That's situational to me.
Is it? Okay.
It is. Like, it's really like, I really think about that throughout the week. Who are they? Who are we? Like, if you're playing a slot T team, I'm probably taking the ball first, right? I want to get an offensive series in. If I feel like, you know, different, I'm not going to say that because this can give something away, but like situations determine who you are and how you play and how I plan against you. It really, to me, is a situational thing. Like, I'm thinking all week, like, how do we feel on Friday? Like, does defense feel like they're really ready to go? Is offense like licking their chops and we see them pregame and say there was a change? Yeah, let's go after it. So to me, it's situational.
Okay. Pre-game speech?
Yes, but I limit. I don't want to be like, I don't want my voice ringing in their head. I want to, and I also learned something years ago called the bell curve. Like, there's this bell curve of energy transfer. Like, when you climb up and you get to the top of the kickoff, and you want them at the top of that bell curve at kickoff, not before. Like, you don't want their emotional peak to be early. Oh. And so that made sense to me as a young coach. And I'm like, I want when that foot hits the ball, and we talk to our kids about it, that's when I want you the most amped up ever. So I don't want to get them all hype and holler, and then they run through, and then they're tired, and they're sweating, and then they calm back down. I want when we hit the ball on the foot, like, we are bam ready to go. And so that's been my kind of my thought process in it, is that I'm going to get you what I need you to say. The other thing is, I mean, you can get them all riled up, but does it really matter? Like, what do you want to leave them with? Right. So I'm short on a pregame speech.
Okay. Do you have a favorite quote you like to use with kids?
So, yeah, my wife, maybe I was going to use the Martin Luther King street sweeper spell. That's what I've used for 20 plus years in the classroom. Every year, first day of school, I teach it with our kids here. It's if a man is called to be a street sweeper, let him sweep streets such as Michelangelo painted and Beethoven composed music. Let him sweep streets so well that the whole host of heaven and earth said, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. I love that. One, Martin Luther King, but just the idea of a life of service that mattered. And I want to think that. I want to think that, like, and I don't know that I measure it all the time. My coaches probably tell you I don't. Some of my staff tell you I don't. But I want people to think, man, he's willing to serve. Like, he's not afraid of the dirty stuff, and he doesn't need the credit, right? And I love that. The other one I think is really, really good, and this is my favorite quote. I share this with our kids all the time. It's, if who I am is what I have, and what I have is lost, who am I? And it's an identity question, right? Like, at the heart of it, it's deep, right? Like, I've used it. I've had kids in tears at school because what we say is this: if who I am is what I have, if what I have is lost, who am I? If my identity is in the thing that can be taken away, it's too small. And that's the way I talk to our kids about it. If my identity is a coach, and I'm no longer a coach, I lose my job, I get fired, I retire. What's my identity? Like, who am I? And you don't have an anchor. That's a bad thing in life, right?
Yeah.
And then I take it a further step, and I say, okay, well, I'm a father. What if I don't have my kids anymore? Like, what if I lose my kids in a tragic? I mean, I'm not a father. And they'll say, no, you are. You are. No, I was, but I'm not anymore. Well, if that's my identity, who am I now?
Yeah.
I'm a husband, right? I lose my wife. So I love that because it forces us to ask, where is my identity? And spiritually, for me as a Christian, like, obviously it's an easy walk into, it better be bigger than whatever you do.
Yeah.
And it better be big enough not to be taken away. Well, that can't be.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be lost.
But I also can use it in general, and it's a psychological question for kids, like, what can break me? What can take me away? And that's one of our pillars is toughness, is what does it take to break me? If that girlfriend is my identity, if sports are my identity and I get hurt, like, I think it just plays into all of our lives. And I think it's a question that everybody should be asking, right? As men, as husbands, as fathers, as wives, as daughters, volleyball players, basketball players. I think it's something we got to challenge our kids with, is where do you find your identity and what can be taken away that causes you to lose stability? Because we all know, I mean, there's a mental health crisis in the world. And our kids are doing things to themselves and hearing things and seeing things on. And how do we combat it? We got to talk about it. Like, we've got to spend our time. Character ed to me is no longer, let's like watch a 2 words. And I love Mackie. He's incredible. It's, what can I do to make you think about where you're at in life and what you're struggling with? And how can we bring that to a comfortable conversation that you feel comfortable enough with the coach that says, I need to talk to you about this. And so that one quote has brought a lot of conversation over the past 20 years.
Oh, I believe it. That's a good one. Okay, music in weight room?
Absolutely. I'm a music guy.
Any particular kind?
I mean, you would not think. I'm a rap guy. We're clean. We do clean rap.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed rap.
I mean, I grew up in Arlington, Sam Houston. So, I mean, I got a little hood in me. And so I love, rap, rock, AC/DC. You're going to ask favorite song in a minute, I'll tell you that. But I'll do country as well. Like, we'll have some country mixed in occasionally. But it's just, it's got to be upbeat. Like, we're in the weight room. I don't want it. Our strength conditioning coach will sometimes play some 80s like little pop stuff, and I'll just start shaking my head, and he'll switch it, and he's incredible. He does a great job, Coach Bill Feld, Coach Beef. But he'll play some odd music, and I'm like, no, Coach, I'm not feeling it. The kids aren't feeling it. Flip it. Let's go. We got to have some energy.
Okay, varsity player in the band. Do you let him march at halftime?
Absolutely. I grew up in Springtown, Texas. Our starting linebacker.
When were you in Springtown?
I graduated from Arlington, Sam Houston in '97, but I was there from '92 to '96. I was there with Bill. Coach played for Bill Reed, Gary Rushing, Jim Yankee.
Yeah, well, my first coaching job was in Azle.
Okay.
In '96.
My sister still lives there, and she's a counselor.
And we were playing Springtown. Was that the year that we burned an A in the middle of your football field?
and slashed Brandon Hurley's tires. Brandon, if you're listening to this, I've got him in front of me.
Oh, God. No, so, I was a coach.
Devin Dorson, yeah.
Oh, golly, yeah. I know Devin
Derek,
real well. And
never liked Derek. Derek, you're more talented than I ever was. I used to have to triple jump and hurdle with him. He was good. God. He knew he was good. You know I'm right, Derek. I know you're listening.
Yeah, those guys. I say a rough group. It was a very, very talented group we had that
huge.
year. They were
both
amazing.
groups, Springtown and I remember talking to people like it was ridiculous how much talent was on that field at multiple games, right? Multiple games. And then that was 1 year, 2 years removed from Tim Buchanan going to Alito and turning that thing into what it is now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I did not realize you were playing over there at that time.
I was playing as loose. I was a backup. I was a quarterback and a safety for JV, and then I got moved up to when we went to the semifinals, lost to Commerce. I got moved up. I'm on the sideline. I will never hide the fact that there was some talent there. Mark Mathis, who's now administration in Paradise. Oh my gosh, I can just name guys off. I mean,
that whole area. That's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, favorite 3 lifts in the weight room?
I'm a clean squat push press guy.
Full power cleans or hang clean?
I like full power. Love hang clean too. Like if I'm alternating between the two, it's hang and power. But I like power just because I feel like you have to force the stature a little bit more. You have to force the positioning.
And the range is more. I like that more range with a full power clean.
For sure, yeah.
As opposed to just that very short.
Yeah, and I love hang clean for just when we want a quick adaptation to get it going. But I think power clean is one of those you have to be static and you have to be full chest and you can't do it with back because it'll roll you over, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely power clean, hang clean, and push press and squat.
Okay, favorite agility exercise?
I've gone to there's 2, but grid has become one of my favorites because I think it's so.
I'm hearing that a lot lately.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do with it. I mean, you can make it very simple for your junior high kids.
Yeah.
You can make it very adaptable for your older kids. So once you teach it, you can really get into some, we're going to do this, this, and this on one whistle, and you adapt, and you can add some kids into it where you're moving off of each other. There's just some adaptability to it. If not that, it'd be the pro agility. I mean, the pro agility, I think you can watch a lot. You can learn a lot about a kid watching them do pro agility.
Yeah.
Big boy, small boy, doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, are you a conspiracy theory person? No. I
just can't spend time. I just can't spend time in that world. Like I'm very impatient about things, and like if you're having to explain that to me, I'm like, no, I'm good. God's gonna do what God's gonna do.
Okay, that takes all the fun out of it.
I know. I'm sorry. No cool questions on that one.
Okay. Do you listen to podcasts?
So this is a great question. I want to, but I don't. Like I'll occasionally. Logan, my coordinators are sending me these podcast things, and I'm like, that's, I'm gonna get in the morning. I'm gonna put up, and like I'm driving. I want to do it. I just listen to music. I mean, I just do, and then that's most of the time. I'm just trying to drink my coffee and wake up.
How long's your drive to school?
About 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes.
So you got time.
I have time, but I just don't ever like it's. I don't know why I'm that way, but like I will listen to one and be like, "That's really good," and then I'll never listen to it again. Like I even have on my phone. I set some up, like a coach coordinator podcast. Like when I was working out, because I don't work out anymore. That's another story. But I worked out at Vandergrift. I'd go run in the mornings and I'd do some lifting, and I'd put that podcast on. And man, that was great. I'm learning and I'm running. My Logan last year, you talked to him, Logan Simmons. He's always got a podcast. My 2 coordinators. Podcast. I want to be a podcast guy, but I'm not. I'm just bad.
Okay, if you could change one rule in football, what would it be?
The cut rule.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, come on now. Cut rule. You got to have that.
I got to figure out who to talk to get on the podcast that can change that rule.
I think that we're all past it. I think at this point now we're just glad we have helmets and pads and can hit each other. I'm really worried we're moving to, hey, let's just have 7-on-7.
God,
I'm not going to go. I'm going to shut my mouth at that point because I'd love to be on the board at some point at THSCA, but I'm not going to say anything else for UIL. I've guaranteed you I've made enough enemies on the wet bulb conversation.
Okay, what would you do if you weren't a coach? And we talked about this a little earlier. Do you even have a clue?
I don't. I wrote no idea because I don't think I'm a good salesman. I don't think that I'm technical. You do not want me building your house. You don't want me building, doing your electricity. I just don't know. And my wife said, "Oh, it's ministry." I'm like, "Yeah, but babe, I'm not the perfect example." We'll say we had that conversation earlier. I don't know that I'm a perfect example.
But none of us are. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's true. But
you're in your ministry.
Yeah, and it absolutely is. And I say that unapologetically, like we talk about our 4 square life, our mission statement for athletics. It's based on Luke 2:52. Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, in favor with God and favor with man. It's clearly not on the board that we do, but it is definitely the driving force behind that. I share that with my parents every meeting we have, with our coaches every meeting. But yeah, I mean, I know this is my ministry, but I don't know what else I would do without. Like, I don't think this is my identity. We just talked about that, but I definitely don't know if I'd be good at anything else.
Well, it's like we talked about. When you're called to do something, why does it matter what else you would do?
For sure.
When it's time to do something else, then God kind of directs you into that.
Yes,
like podcast is never what I guessed I'd be doing.
I'm not gonna lie. The fact, like after talking to you, I'm like, how did you get into a podcast? That's awesome.
It was just for fun to start with, and then it turned out my sister-in-law has like 2 big podcasts. She's got really big ones out in Los Angeles, and
Wow.
And her and my brother said, "Oh, we'll help you get started." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
Here you go.
that's right. Now I can't say that this is like some big money maker or making me famous or anything else. It's just me having fun.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I'm telling you, like, this is like, it's made me smile all day. I was like, this is a great little, like, all the things. There's so many connections with coaches, and you learn that.
Yeah.
Like, it really is a small, which is why THSCA is such a big deal. We go to coach school. Small world, right? And so many cool things and interactions. But yeah, I would not have pictured you as a podcast guy. Just know that.
Well, okay, and people still can't picture it because you can't see my face, fortunately.
There you go.
My wife would be giving me a hard time going, "You got to get that lazy eye fixed."
Oh my gosh. We're not going to talk about the scar across the top of my head. We'll stay away from that.
All right, do you have a pro or a college coach you look up to or model some things after?
I mean, it's always, I think you think Nick Saban, just because it's so impressive to see the level of detail and the level of tiered coaching from his kids to his assistants to his coaches to his staff. Like, it's a machine, right? And so you got to appreciate that. I would not at all compare myself to him, but I kind of look at some things and go, man, I really like that avenue of how he did it. I think James Franklin's one that I think he's a really good coach, and I think that he, everywhere he's been has been able to take situations and make them better. I was really surprised by the Penn State move, and I was really more surprised by the Virginia Tech move, and I was really impressed that he kept the DC. Like, that's just unheard of in modern football. Like, the ego would not let you do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, get fired from Penn State and you're 1 game away from a national championship 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden you go to Virginia Tech and it's a complete rebuild, and the head coach is there and he's walking out of his office, and you go, "You're going to stay?" And he says, "I would love to." That takes some confidence, and that takes some relational skills, like the ability to not humiliate, but have humility enough to see that and do that. And as a head coach, to have the humility and go, "You're good enough to stay." Like, that's a big deal. I'm putting my money in your basket, right? And so he's impressive. I like James Franklin. I've never met him, never been around him, but just listening to him on some things on a podcast, and then some other things. I think he's one that I would say for sure.
Okay. Who's the most motivating coach you've ever heard speak?
Kirby Smart. Like, Kirby Smart makes me want to run through a wall anytime he talks. Like, he is 4th and 1 every moment of his life. I got to believe his wife is just tired all the time. Like, she just walks around like,
"Honey, go to work. Honey, please go to work.
Just leave." Like, everyone leaves and the whole house takes a collective sigh. Like, "Oh, Dad's gone," right? And he walks back in and they all tighten up, right? But he's just, I've met him several times. Really, really, really genuine guy. But like I said, I've never seen him not on.
Cool.
So
okay. Favorite pregame song?
This is probably going to get a lot of people. Cochise, Audio Slave. There's a song. You're going to listen to it in your truck, and you're going to go.
I am now.
I'm telling you, you're going to call me and be like, "That has the best drop ever." Yes, it does. So Cochise, Audio Slave.
All right. Favorite sports movie?
I put down, and I don't watch it very often. I've watched it 4 or 5 times, but For the Love of the Game.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one.
And I'm not a big baseball fan. I love baseball, but it's not something I watch all the time.
They
But
tend
that
to have
game,
the best movies, though.
Yes, it's
I mean,
really
when you
weird.
start thinking about all the good baseball movies, The Natural and Major League,
Oh, yeah.
and all that stuff, and they got
football
is
it's too intense. Like, football is like baseball. There's some this fluidity, and there's some natural calm, and there's some delay of the game. It's not super intense all the time. Football is always intense. Like, my wife's like, "What's the movie you watch sometimes?" And it's On Any Given Sunday. Like, think about that. Like, every moment of that game is like you're watching the movie going, "Oh, all right, something's about to happen." So I think that football's not built to have a love story in it,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite movie quote?
Okay, so I actually have to get my phone out because I'm gonna screw this up. But I gotta find it. My wife will be absolutely mad if I mess this up. We were talking about this last night, and she goes, "This is your favorite quote. You've got to give it." So we rewatch things. Like, we watch Friday Night Lights, the series. She starts it during football season, and we watch it all the way through every year. Like, that's her.
Oh my gosh!
Like, she watches The Office, like, on repeat. It's a safe place, right? Parks and Rec. But The Office is her thing. Like, she loves The Office, right? So she sent me the quote and said, "This is what you're gonna do." And it's Michael Scott sitting in his office on one of those outtakes where they're videoing him, and it said that interviewing a guy and goes, "Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me." And she said, "You have got to use that," because I use that occasionally with our kids. I'm like, I want to be afraid of how much you love me, and they're like, "Shut up, Dad." So yeah, so Michael Scott on The Office.
Yeah, leave it to our kids or our wives to keep us in check and keep us humbled, right?
Oh my! I'm going to show you. This is true. So if she's listening to this, she's going to laugh. This morning, she knows the podcast's coming. I'm working. We're all in here. All the coaches are working. We're all going. This is what's in my refrigerator and on my. She walked in and stocked my shelf while the coaches were here, and all the coaches are watching her on her knees, like stocking my refrigerator. And they're like, "Don't you normally go get food?" She stocks it once a year, and then it goes an entire year without doing it because I don't ever stop I don't ever stop, right? And she looked at me and she goes, "You're welcome," and then walked out.
Oh God!
I'm like, yeah, big AD head football coach, and then my wife's like, I'm gonna keep you alive, right? You're gonna be sitting here on Saturday hungry, and you got food. So yeah, she's pretty incredible. They keep us very humble.
That's great. Well, Coach, man, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today. I really appreciate it. I had a great
This was fun,
time.
man. Thanks for coming out. I know it's a fun time to get to hear another coach and just talk about all the great things of our profession and just around great people. Like I said, you've literally hit everybody around me. I was like, Ben was like, "Has he called you yet?" I'm like, "Not yet," but I'm kind of excited because I heard Ben's was like, "Man, that was great." Then Logan talked. I was like, "That was great. Like, this is fun."
Well, I think I did send you an email at one point, but I think a lot of my emails from Football Across Texas were going to spam.
Gotcha.
Because people I knew at schools weren't getting the email. I think the schools things were filtering them out.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear back at the time, and so I thought, well, I'll wait. And then Spear gave me your number, and so that's when I said, okay, I'll text him then at some point. But
Spear just wants to post this and make fun of me. Like, he's going to use this as clickbait for all the Burn It people. Like, he's going to be like, "See, told you I was smarter than that guy." He is. Ben is much smarter than I am. But no, I appreciate you doing it, and thanks for coming out, and you're welcome here anytime.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I have to make sure and catch some of y'all's games this year. I look
Love it.
forward to keeping up with y'all.
Free ticket. Come on.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today here in Marble Falls for our first episode in our Becoming a Head Coach series. I hope you enjoyed getting to know a little more about Coach Timmerman and his thoughts on this topic. And next episode will be with Coach Cope from West Fork Gators. I was supposed to meet up with him at coaching school, and we weren't able to make our schedules fit when we were down there, so I'm going to do his actually by phone. So that'll be next week's episode. And until then, remember, if you're lost in Texas, just look for the lights.
I wear that red and white on a Friday night when my hometown takes the field. I say yes sir, yes ma'am, try to be the best man. That's how I feel. No matter where my heart runs, I remember where I came from. Still got that raised up pride, that small town pride, that black red